Hello, friends. Hello, loyal audience, fans, haters, detractors. Everybody, welcome. So I'm gonna add another video here now, but this would be an addendum, combined addendum on the Matrix as well as Alien. But I'm gonna start with Prometheus, right? Prometheus. Why? Because this has like a link between them, right? It kind of it's like a junction between them. And shouldn't be, I mean, I found this, I viewed it and I found it a little bit difficult to decipher, similar to, like, but eventually I was able to decipher it. However, it's indicative of certain dogmas and so on. And like I told you earlier, as I stated, that that all these iconic movies, Aliens, Predator, Matrix, all these movies, plus other movies as well, they orbit the same subject, the same dogma, right? And they really have some dogmatic background somewhere, right? And that's not something out in the open. So first of all, it's that crescent moon, upside down crescent moon. I'm not going to explain it now, but that is an occultic, a hidden religion. Maybe Magi's, maybe Zoroaster. Well, Zoroaster has been exaggerated. All right, but I don't want to take too long because here I'm going to give you the surprise of a lifetime. If you're a fan of those and you comment on them day and night, right? Excuse me. Right? And so on. There are links that I'm gonna show you now that's gonna blow your mind away, like they say. All right, hold on. All right, so first of all, let me apologize for the poor quality studio, but that's all I have. However, the point is very important. I ain't gonna find it anywhere else. Some of those movies come very close to explaining, to show you or divulging or uncovering what's really going on. Some of them, speculate on things and so on. And I did discover that there is contradictions, but they all are the same bunch having chats and hidden chats, concealed chats, and they're talking about things, speculating, making assumptions. Some of it, little bit of it, very little bit of it is true, but some are not. Now this here is Prometheus, the movie, right? And this here is Earth. When we human beings were, as we're told, were expelled from heavens, along with the jinns or fallen angels, and so on and so forth. This is not the subject here, but the subject is this here is Earth, right? Pristine Earth, when we came down here all together. All right. Now, in the Quran, it tells us about flying saucers, right? Like that we shall mount saucer upon saucer, and so on and so forth, using the gravity of the moon. And the chapter is called Suratul Inshiqaq, the splitting asunder. It's a short surah, one of the short surahs toward the end of the Quran. It's in chapters in the section theory, just theory, right? So that's that. Apparently, it's being used also in Stargate, the Stargate movie as well. So here, I got a little bit confused, but eventually I was able to sort things out. This here is probably Adam. This here is Prometheus, the founder of humanity, right? So this may or may not be Adam, right? However, when eventually we notice and observe the transformation of the genetics and the DNA in the water, and then he dies, basically he becomes humanity. Or maybe not all humanity, perhaps he becomes the Nephilims, according to the makers of this movie. And the makers of this movie, the writers of the script and the hidden script, all these iconic movies do have hidden scripts in them. You just have to observe. And once you catch the thread, you will probably figure out what it is. However, it's always difficult to figure out every detail, right? So I'm going to be very brief. It's just one video here, and this shall point you to some very unified stream thought, right? A stream of thoughts, right? Give me a second. right? A unified school of thought, right? A set of dogmas and so on that talks about origin of humanity, where we were, and on and on, right? But here, this could be Adam, which is really, I believe, is Adam because it's proven to be so in a different movie, right? And here, I believe, is Adam, not the fallen angel and the Nephilim, right? There are deleted scenes, right? Here, they come down and send him off goodbye and so on. So this is Adam, right? And obviously, in this movie, he was called the engineer, right? The engineer. Now, we know Adam as a man, as a first man, according to our religion and so on, or religions, right? He is the only and first man. But now, in that vessel or spaceship, or in the deleted scenes where we see them, right? We see engineers like him. He was called engineer, so, and they were called engineers, right? So that's the one that generates some confusion about who he really is, right? But ultimately, it'll be proven that he is Adam, but here maybe the belief of those who wrote the script, and this seems to be like a lot from Judaism, right? Modern day Judaism, is that there is not just one Adam and so on and so forth. And there are those occults such as Elohism and blah blah. They say there were like 360,000 Adams, and so it's a little bit confusing. But let's say this here is Adam. I find this theory to be the most accurate. And as you saw, you only saw his four fingers. So when he shows the four fingers, right? And obviously, he is superior in physical strength and brain power and so on. I was told, uh, and we were told, at least in our religion of Islam, right, that Adam was 60 long. 60 here, the unit of measurement is called zira, or it's like from your finger to your shoulder, uh, or something of the sort. So that's why they're portrayed. Apparently, religion sources of religions are heavily used here, such as the size of human beings back then and so on. Here, I thought I saw like some kind of a coded or language on that little cup, right? See? I don't know what the heck is that. Maybe if we got closer, looks like skulls to me and whatnot. Maybe it's like skull here or something of the sort. Coincidentally, even before this movie was released, I had a habit. I don't know. It's not like I acquired it or anything else. But whenever I drank my coffee, I always held it like he does, with my finger upward. So hey, maybe I'm Adam. No, I am not. Now keep observing him. His looks, his nose, his head, his hair, no hair, his eyes, and keep observing him. Now he's becoming the humanity, right? So the process of dissolving into humanity or becoming humanity is nothing, not a case of comfort, like pleasure or comfort or whatever it is. It's painful. It's a painful process, difficult, torturing. It's an arduous journey from the start to the finish, right? So here he's multiplying, but notice he's going down the ravine, right? Or the waterfall. I want you to observe that. So his journey is going down, right? And that's the DNA. DNA separates, right? Dissolves into its elemental with its elemental makeup and construction into a very primitive, smallest elements in it. You know, it's just dissolving completely. When it dissolves, they rebuild it again, or I don't know, it gets rebuilt again. Like they say, life is tenacious. So it's difficult. It's painful. It's a painful journey. It's a painful process. It's a torturous. It's a torment. I want you to observe these two. These two. There's three. This is similar to the titles in Alien, you know. But then you see the first you see is two, right? 11. Keep memorize all that I say. I will remind you with it later, but memorize it. See, now it begins a new construction, right? There you go. So he has now divided and he's becoming one out of many, or it's antithesis. Many out of one. Many out of one. Again, there was a message here aside from the 11 or 11, you know, but I don't want to decipher it. You know, I don't want to go in details on this particular movie. It's a binary system, 2, 4, 8, 16, blah, blah. Again, excuse my setup here. They sound like gophers digging out of the ground or something after the snow. It's very funny. She's one-eyed, notice. You only observe one eye. So she is not, probably there is that third element or fourth element, right? So she's not, apparently here they're making the assumption that she's not from the makeup. Her makeup is not that, or her species is not that of the Prometheus, who just fell down and now after a few thousand years, we're all his descendants, right? Give me a second here. All right. Nice, nice, nice. You ought to go barbecue, have a barbecue in there or something. What? Isle of Skye, Scotland. Scotland. So why Scotland? I don't want to speculate. Why Scotland? I don't want to speculate on this a lot, but I will remind you that they say there are things in Scotland that happened or moved into Scotland and or were born and established and grew up and budded in Scotland. You'll find that in a song by the Police or the Sting, right? Something called in a dark night on a parking lot in Scotland Lake, under Scotland Lake. I forgot the song, but he's talking about something there, right? I disagree. I think if there's something there, there's something everywhere, right? And there's Scottish Lake, right? You know, Sting or the Police. But that's why Scotland, they're trying to say, I don't think this is coincidental. I don't think this is just they choose Scotland for that. I think because there's some kind of a thing going on there. Is it? Maybe. I don't know.
Perhaps for 5,000 years, maybe older.
Now I know where that came from. If I want to divulge it to you, you will go crazy. Once me and my children, my 6 children were there, and they all like started playing and drawing things, like graffiti on the wall and stuff like that. That's all. Disregard what they say. And they were laughing, and they were having fun. Horses, horses, horses. Oh, looky here. So I think that's Orion. Orion's belt, right? So Orion's belt, remember? What's his name? Men in Black or something? Orion's belt. So this here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but there's 3, 1, 2. And this guy is very tall, right? So according to what I heard or read or something, that there are some those occultic religions, and they're all alike. Some of them do believe that's where we came from Orion's belt.
It's gotta predate the others by millennia.
Right? So that's Men in Black, Orion's belt. Orion's belt?
I think they want us to come and fight.
There's some truth to that. We did come actually from heavens, right? Way up there. And that's where we came from. But we're not the only species who were expelled from heavens and are down here. This is nice. I like this animation here. All right, let's hold here. So as you can see, it's 2093, and then Dr. Shaw makes a mention that it's been 2,000 years, right? Or so. That will tell you the 2,000 years is really when the diaspora started. And that was when the Romans, during the Jesus' time, when they burned the temple and so on and so forth. So whenever the 2,000 years or thereabout is mentioned, that's what they're talking about. The beginning, the start of the diaspora, right? Or diaspora. So here's a keyword for us all. These are Muslims here, obviously, and they're in a wake, right? Or not wake, in a funeral procession. So once you see Muslims here, then in later stages of the movies, you will realize they're talking about Arabia.
What happened to that man?
I will bring it up to you.
Died. Why aren't you helping him?
You don't want my help. Pentagon is different than us.
Why did he die?
Sooner or later, everyone does.
We all die, yes.
Like Mummy.
Like Mum.
Where did they go?
Everyone has their own word. Heaven. Paradise. Whatever it's called. Someplace beautiful.
How do you know it's beautiful?
All right, let's stop here. Again, everything is symbolism here, numerology and symbolism. So the blue color, and then you have the L22. 22, I figured there's 21 and there's 22. 21 is like the 5, and then 22 is the 6 or something of the sort. I'm not the expert on those, neither have I learned them. I don't care about that, but from observations, my observations From the outset, I figured out that's what it is. This here, 22, I think got something to do with what's today's Judaism or something of the sort. C172, I don't know, figure that out. So just so you know, everything that is historically defined as Indo-European, whether it's languages or anything else, is a fabrication similar to the Dead Sea Scrolls, an 18th century or 19th century fabrication. That's it. There's no such thing.
Michael George Hartley, you're a philosopher. And you're
Remember that movie. This here is Lawrence of Arabia. I will mention it to you later.
Oh, it damn well hurts.
Certainly it is.
Well, what's the trick then?
The trick, William Potter, is not minding.
Is not minding, it hurts. Of course, David is going to mention it later, right? Still, I want you to remember the movie. And the blue color here. Lawrence of Arabia. That's Peter O'Toole. And the movie is Lawrence of Arabia. He was really a real personality. It's not a fictional personality across history or something of the sort. He was there on a mission, not just him. He was just like someone who took his own turn and meandered around and so on. But the entire story of the English is really to destroy certain creed and then bring about others, raise others, and prepare the land for a later invasion. That's what Lawrence of Arabia and his cohorts and his the army of England and so on, that's what they were doing there. They were partially successful, not 100%. So as you can see, it's very similar to Alien, right? You know, Alien. I mean, this is pretty much along the same line. And then you got your windows of sixes and blue color, and you know. So notice when he says no mom, yes mom, he sounds like Mrs. Baylock in The Omen, a movie in 1976, Omen. Notice.
18 days, 36 hours, 15 minutes.
Any casualties?
Casualties, Mum.
Has anyone died?
No, Mum.
See,
Everyone's fine.
he no casualties, of course, says no mom. I mean, he's trying, in other instances, he's trying to sound like Mrs. Baylock.
Well, I haven't had any breaks yet.
So that's like bro. He's my bro, Idris Elba. Hey, brother Idris. You know, Idris is a name of a prophet between Adam and Noah. Noah, right? There are prophets between Adam and Noah, quite few of them. But 10 were mentioned. One of them is Idris. This here says a lot, right? About life, you know, life has been, we've been around for too long, so many generations, blah, 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 right? But at one point, you know, some of us dream of living forever, right? You can't on your own, not in this life, you can't on your own dream of living forever, right? You know, that's not good, right? It's not good. But when we are created differently, then that's a different story, right? Sorry about that. So this guy, he says he doesn't have a soul. He's his son, right? The Wayland's son. But he's a bionic or robot. He's a robot, right? But where do I see this one? I have a dilemma here on my hand, trying to understand who he is. In the first instance, I see him as Kubrick's artificial intelligence, David. Do you remember that movie? You know, David, the robot who falls down in the sea and waits for 1,000 years for his mother to wake up, and so on and so forth, right? And his name is David. So this is David's AI. This comes from AI by Kubrick. And the name of the Makkah is David. Orga and Makkah. Now, Makkah When we say Mecca, you know, that city of pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, in Arabia, that is where the cubic house is, black monolith or cubic house is, right? We call it Mecca. We don't say Mecca, right? It's Mecca. And the orga, right? Orga, I don't know what orga means here. Organic? No, I don't think so. It means something else. But that's who he is. That's on one hand. I do have a problem with the name as David and him being soulless and so on and so forth as described initially.
My entire
Notice what he says.
his remarkable gifts. For that would require the one thing that David would never have.
The one thing David will never have. That's straight out of the Talmud, right? You know, like if you're not one of the makers of this movie, you're an AI, right?
Soul.
A soul. So he doesn't have a soul, right? Man, that's one ugly thing.
I have spent my entire lifetime contemplating the great.
So I have a problem here. The makers of this movie are of the Jewish faith, right? And the writers of the scripts and the makers of the movie and the writers of the scripts and so on and so forth, right? They're all of that source. Why David? David is a holy personality, is something that is of historic significance for Judaism. You know, the son of David, blah blah. You know the story, right? But why do they make him here in this movie and in AI as David, as a mechanical Mecca, or mechanical as they try to say, right? They place him in Mecca and David, right? And mechanical, he has no soul. When the makers of this movie and writers of this script and so on are really of that faith, it's kind of troubling. You see what I'm saying here? Artificial intelligence and so on. So now that puts you know, like a curveball just got thrown at me here. At the movie, you would see that those people are in fact Jews, right? From the flow of the movie, right? Similar to other movies like Ripley and Sarah and so on and so forth. If that's the case, why are they talking about David as AI? You understand? So now my question is, are these guys human beings? Or are these guys in reality the one creed that I just mentioned, who's talking about things, right? Historic proportion, religious scope, and so on, right? It's just confusing, you see? But there is an explanation, a quite distant explanation, you know, an unlikely and possible explanation, but maybe unlikely. That in Islam we know that King Solomon, who's the son of David, or Prophet Solomon, he had demons working for him. What he did was, demons were subjugated and subjected to him. They were his subjects, you know, they were subjugated to him, and he used them to build things and so on, and do miraculous and supernatural acts, right? And at the end of the movie, I will show you one. But that's the only explanation. So maybe these guys are the devils of Solomon, you know, the jinns, or if you want, like, in your opinion, fallen angels and so on. So you see my dilemma here, my confusion about this, you know, like David being one of the supposed makers and writers of the script of this movie, right? Yet they call him Makkah, you know, it's just mind-boggling. Maybe they know something we don't know, those big writers of the script. And there are evidence, you know, like along the lines between Yemen and Palestine, there are some things that exist today that are just not normal. And I'm not talking about Mecca and Medina, right? And I'm not talking about Islam here. There are independent things that are not so clear, right? Few, not many. All right, so that's the point I want to make about David. I can't help but make a point here. Okay, now I don't believe that he, Wayland, and she, that cutie called Charlize Theron, are the same creed and religion and so on as Dr. Shaw and Holloman and so on. Here, they're the owners and they're running the ship, right? This spaceship. And the others are working for them.
Well, that would require the one thing that David will never have: a soul. I have spent my entire lifetime contemplating the questions: where do we come from? What is our purpose? What happens when we die? And I have finally found two people who have convinced me they're on the verge of answering.
What happened to us when we die, blah, 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 right? But here, the makers of the movies, they show you that he is really a dying dog. Notice, I'm not making this up. Keep looking.
Well, that would
Keep
require
looking at the
one
dog
thing that David will never have: a
and
soul.
correlate between the dog's motion and the
spent my
word
entire lifetime
and his
contemplating
words.
the questions: where do we come from?
Where do we come from?
What is our purpose?
What's our purpose?
What happens?
What happens when we die?
And I have finally found two people who have convinced me they're on the verge of answering. Doctors Hot.
You are a dog who's going to die is the makers of this movie and the script, what they're saying about him, right?
Away in short, would please stand. As far as you're concerned, the bird's in charge. The Titan, Prometheus.
Not just that, they're incongruent. They're not in, like, even though it's a father and son, there's still that world whims and voracious, like, and betrayal and so on. He doesn't much like here. Probably she wants him to die and then she can take over the Wayland Corporation and so on. So the portrayal here of him and his daughter is like they're dying dogs, right?
Time, equal footing with the gods. For that, it's cast, Olympus.
Yeah, well, that's Prometheus, right?
Well, my friends, the time has finally come for his return. Doctor, please.
There you go. 223. I don't know what the heck that is. Divide 2 by 3, you get like 666. And 2. And this guy looks like someone I can imagine him with a chainsaw, right? Somebody told him you're intelligent and he believed it. That's very funny. All right, here, let's see.
Because of a map. You two kids found in the cave, right?
No,
Yes.
no, not a map. An invitation.
From whom?
We call them engineers.
She calls them engineers. I think I know who the engineers are. I'm going to tell you about them a little later. At least who they think the engineers are. She and he.
Engineers? Do you mind telling us what they engineered?
They engineered us.
Aha. All right, pretty obvious. Beethoven, Mona Lisa, and what's his name? Rabbi Abraham Lincoln. I don't know who that is. It must be someone. And then there's math, right? Who's the math? Who invented math? Come on. Who invented math? Gave it to the world. Come on. Repeat after me. Oh, damn engineers. Maybe the Arabs. I don't know. We'll find out.
Some numbers.
But notice.
I'm sorry, no.
Maybe they didn't understand.
Maybe they didn't understand it.
How your lessons going, David?
I spent 2 years deconstructing dozens of ancient languages.
Aha. That reminds me of a movie called... I forgot what it's called. It's Amy Adams. Let me see what it is. Yeah, it's called Arrival by Amy Adams, deconstructing dozens of ancient languages. Why didn't he say learning? He said deconstructing. Deconstruct.
To their roots.
And their roots. Like such as Arabic. Arabic exists as such. It has roots, and you have to deconstruct every term and every sentence to its, out of its controls, all the way down to the root, which is 3 letters. at the most. There are millions and millions of roots in Arabic, right? And each one is 3 letters long. Everything else is controls and modifiers and.
Something that I can communicate with.
So remember Arrival, Amy Adams. And this guy has something in his brain. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Provided your thesis is correct.
Provided it's correct. That's good.
That's why they call it thesis.
Yeah, it's an assumption, right?
Doctor.
Doctor. I'm going to call myself a doctor from here on.
What are you smiling about? All right, Mr.
Yeah, shut
Bill, Mr. Chance, let's take it then.
All right. Okay, here we arrive at a point of speculation, but I'm going to be at least 50% correct about this. Let's hear what they have to say.
No radio, no food source.
Nothing.
Nobody's home.
Nobody's home. Nobody's there. It's empty.
There is nothing in the desert. And no man is.
There is nothing in the desert and no man needs nothing. He just gives it up, right? This statement is also uttered by Peter O'Toole's in Lawrence of Arabia. They showed you the movie. Is not to mind, it hurts, right? You know, the trick, my boy, is not to mind. Is not minding, it hurts, right? But in the movie, if you watch that movie, Peter O'Toole says that as well, right? There's nothing in the desert and no man needs nothing. What does that mean? Well, there's nothing in the desert, right? I mean, the desert is basically barren. You can't plant trees, blah, blah. It's all sand and heat and right? And cold at night. And so it's not hospitable or, or potable or, it's barren land, right? So who lives there, right? Is what they're trying to say. And no man needs nothing. What he's saying is those who live in that desert are not men. They are something else. Do you understand what they're trying to say here? But this is not new. This here was uttered by Peter O'Toole in that movie, Lawrence of Arabia.
Nothing.
What was that?
What was that? I mean, she didn't understand, right?
Just something from a film I like.
And that's Lawrence of Arabia, right? He likes. What they're trying to say here, go watch it. Here, right now, I can tell you, I have almost concluded, and very much concluded, when I arrived at this point, that the engineers are really Arabs, and what they're trying to, they're making the assumption that they're not human. Why? Because they were supernatural entities, bringing mass and science and so on. As they showed you, mass and so on and so forth. It was invented by them, right? So they attribute supernatural abilities and characters and traits to them. And there it's a complex in their brain. Sometimes I feel sorry for them, really, by Allah.
Let's go do that quickly. Just airspeed by 100 knots.
Okay, here's a milestone here.
No, what was that?
How are they seeing this? Like, they have like extrasensory perceptions or premonitions, or how are they seeing something that happened so far back, way back in the past, right? And here I am thinking 2,000 years ago, because Dr. Shah, mentioned about 2,000 years when I think they were digging in that cave in the Isle of Skye.
David? David?
That food?
What was that?
David?
See, that's what I mean. Is there now those engineers? There was some kind of a cosmic event, or not cosmic event, rather than some social upheaval and revolution, or something has happened there, right? And they're running away. The engineers are running away. So here, they're not the ultimate source of power or control, or they're not on top of the food chain, if you will. Something here just came about and it's chasing them and destroying them.
I like
I don't know. Maybe history is, or just they're just making that up. Because I can tell you now, I just changed my mind with this scenery here. I changed. Oh no, I'm sorry. Later, about these being the Arabs, the engineers. I mean,
What the hell was that?
that's why it's a little bit confusing, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm still insisting that they're the Arabs, but they could mean something else, as she will state later.
I'm really good. We didn't bring any weapons.
Whose idea was that?
So this guy is, he's like blacker, and he's not able to catch up because either he's wounded or sick or old, just unable to go and hide, right? Unable to go into hiding. And then he fell, and the door just closed on him because they couldn't wait for him. Why? Because whatever is dangerous that is chasing them and coming around, making them run in, down, batten down the hatches and so on, and he just fell, right?
Oh my God. We found it.
We could have counted them.
What do you mean, then?
I just don't know.
So those are, right? They're not the original Prometheus or that perhaps xenomorph, which disintegrated and dissolved into the water, into his elementary construction or DNA or so on and so forth. These are his descendants, right? Because he was the only one to come down. So these four must be his clones or something of the sort. Maybe clones. Keep that in mind. Clones. These are his clones.
Looks like a door. And he's been decapitated by it.
Son of a bitch. You're alright.
Here, I think, I don't know, but I think that language is probably Aramaic, or what we call is in Arabic Arami. And that's the language spoken by the Jews of Jesus. Around Jesus' time, they didn't talk Hebrew. Hebrew is an extinct language. The modern one is a knockoff copy from Arabic. It's a few hundred years old, and it's something similar to Ebonics, relevant to English. All right. So that's Aramaic, I think.
Please tell me you can read that.
I think that's what it. I don't know. I think that's what it is. I don't speak Aramaic.
No, I'm out of it.
Hey, Fifield.
So that would be him. That's the first man, right? The guy who disintegrated, and that's his hiding place or sanctuary or protective area. I don't know. Emergency safety room or something of the sort, right? But that's him, right? Or maybe that's their lord or something of the sort. They worship him. But he's a human being. So now we know that the attributes, that supernatural attributes of those xenomorphs or those engineers are in fact metaphorical, meaning they're really human beings, but they have superior qualities and intelligence and so on. So he must be a god. Why am I saying this? Notice those flexible conduits, right? These are revelation or communication channels or something of the sort, right? You see it in the back of the head of Neo and in Alien as well, and in the shuttle or that was attached to the Nostromo in Alien, and you will see it also just about everywhere else, right? In those movies. So a flexible conduit, those pipes are indicative of communication channels, possibly other things such as financial dispensation and so on. So worms, when you call somebody a worm, right? So this place has worms. These are not of their type or species, but there are worms that underneath and so on and so forth. Ugly concepts, man.
Beautiful
The
painting.
worms here are, they mean other humans, you know?
Is that you?
Keep noticing that. See the face and the nose and so on.
Oh no. Charlie, the murals are changing. I think we all have to get this one room. Charlie, do you copy? On ahead. Forward. Quick, help me back ahead.
He says they're organic, meaning, like I told you, it's metaphoric. What they're seeing really is other humans that they deem as superior in intelligence and qualities and strength and so on. Here they feel
I see it.
silica. He said silica. Remember Ash telling Ripley that silicon about the makeup of the xenomorph or the facehugger as silicon or something of the sort, right? Now here they fall under attack by those other creatures, right? Which really, the storm, right? Which really isolated uh, the engineers in their own compound, right? And they locked down the hatches, battened down the hatches, and so on, and they have their own life now. Maybe that's Zion, right? Maybe they're entering Zion. And whatever caused the engineers to seek shelter and protection in disguise and hiding is that storm, whatever it is, silica. Remember that face and head.
Time is up.
Keep it in mind.
Let's see. Go off on your 10. Okay, up 10.
Observe the hand. Coincidence? Possibly. But I doubt it. I don't know. Are these the Orion thing? No, maybe not. I don't know. But therefore one. There's 4 and 1. 4 and 1. I explained that in one of my explanations of other movies.
Isolate the strand. Okay. Compare it to the gene sample. Yeah. Overlap.
Processing. Processing. DNA match.
That's for cloning. Cloning materials. Cloning sperms or something.
It's us. It's it.
It's us. So as I told you, those engineers are not, they don't look like they do. They're just humans, right? But the illustration of large body and is metaphorical about their qualities and traits.
What killed them?
What killed them? And that's why they were running into the sanctuary and closed the door, battened down the hatches. Because they were chased by that storm, by some other beings they haven't shown so far. Sometimes I wonder, I don't think they're as innocent as they're trying to make it sound. It does look like I'm going to have to make a couple of videos here, not just one. Notice his fingers. I don't know. 333. I don't know. We try to decipher it.
Big things have small beginnings.
Big things have small beginnings. So he doesn't like him, right? David doesn't.
That your engineers are
Holloway or Hallman doesn't like him. And now David planned to really put the 4 into him, right?
You think we wasted our time coming in, don't you?
Your question depends on the understanding of what you hope to achieve by coming here.
What we hope to achieve was to meet our makers, get answers. Why they even made us in the first place.
So now he's gonna act like Ash. Remember Ash trying to protect the xenomorph? This guy is trying to generate it. He wants to regenerate it from whatever seed, from whatever genetic material, by way of artificial insemination or something of the sort. Or cloning, most likely cloning.
We made you guys we could.
Can you imagine how disappointing it would be for you to hear the same thing from your creator?
I guess it's a good thing you can't be disappointed.
Yes.
So that's Ash now. Why do they call him David? I don't know.
May I ask you something?
Please do.
How far would you go to get what you came all this way for? Your answers. What would you be willing to do?
Anything and everything.
Some drinking too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, blue drink, I wouldn't trust that. Uh-oh. Did you see what he did? Notice what he does with his finger. Did you see that?
Here's mud you right now.
So now he's observing what was going on or what was going to happen. Now he finds out why he's going to Earth. Because their control is by way of music. Magic flute, you know? They control people by magic. That's Earth. Why those people who hid and sealed themselves out of civilization and humanity with all their dogmas and, you know, sometimes twisted understanding of other humans, right? Why do they want to go back after 2,000 years and destroy civilization? They look like eggs, those controls. Maybe the control here is meant to be organic, not electronic. I didn't count them. I don't know the number of them. Maybe 6 of them. That looks like a nuclear thing here. See, like a nuclear fusion or fission or something. Notice. See? I don't know. These are nucleus atoms. about us, Arabia and Africa. That's the Arab world. Actually, the Arab world is it's farther down. All these countries here, they speak Arabic. So that's like that, right? They're uh, they're sending it off. Those Arabs, they gonna make them disappear, along with blacks, I think. But they started dying off because they waited too long. 2,000 years. That edifice began to crumble, and those engineers within or creatures within just died out and disappeared and left and so on. But one is left. Here, when they arrived, there's still one there. So he's like in some kind of incubation chamber, right? Or stasis, right? Incubation. I will call it incubation. That's when he marked this word. That's when David, discovered that there's one. That scene looks familiar. And he looks familiar as well. So he's the last of his kind. That engineer, which is in the stasis chamber or incubation, that's the last of his kind. I didn't understand the cross. So the cross here is saying she's Christian. I don't know. Here in this movie, I don't think that's who it is meant to be. But he's taken the Christianity out of her neck and freezing Christianity.
I understand how inappropriate this is, given the circumstances. But as you ordered quarantine fail-safes, it's my responsibility to ask, have you and Dr. Holloway had any intimate contact recently? Since you and he were so close,
She's pregnant, right? How did she get pregnant when she's barren, right? Sterile. Not she is. She cannot have children, right? As she mentioned, if you watch this movie. But what it is now she's pregnant with one of those engineers, not engineers. It's that other materials. Remember when he laced Dr. Holloway's drink with that material by his finger, right? So what she has in her belly is something evil, right? Even though it's her own child as a woman, right? But now it's too dangerous. She doesn't want it, right? She wanna abort it. She wanna cut it out. But he, like Ash, is protecting that. So let's see.
My You're pregnant. From the look of it, 3 months, sir.
If possible. I can't be pregnant.
Did you have intercourse with Dr. Holloway?
Yes. But 10 hours ago. There's no blood way. I'm 3 months pregnant.
Well, not. It's not exactly a traditional fetus.
I want to see it.
Don't think that's a good idea.
I want to see it.
No, Doctor.
I want to see it. I want to have.
I'm afraid we don't have the personnel to perform a procedure like that. Our best option
Out is out.
put you back into crime.
Okay, that's after she aborts the fetus, right? Remember Burton O'Brien talking to what's his name, Winston or John Hurt in 1984. 4. This is like just like the egg in Alien as well. You got 4, and then 1 in the middle, right? See? So this is like this is the 4. I explained this in different commentary on movies, but she got rid of it. Now this here, while she was able to cut it out, right? Cesarean section. That still lives, and you're gonna see it. So I'm gonna stop here, and then I'm gonna start another video.